Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil with Mike King. I'm here with Chris McDonough tonight. How you doing, Chris?
Mike, ready for choir practice. Are you?
It is choir practice. Folks, are you ready for choir practice? This is your second. There's a lot of experienced people online already with choir practice. Chris, for those who have never heard of choir practice, why do we call it that?
So choir practice is a rite of passage in public safety. And essentially, once you cross over that bridge from being a rookie / new officer or whatever, your FTO or your field training officer basically bless you to attend choir practice. And it's a place where everybody gets together and has a great time. We just hang out.
Yeah, for a lot of the cops, they would use that as a place to have a cocktail and settle down. Guys like you and me that didn't drink, we often ended up being the designated drivers for those that we worked with. But it was a place where everyone, regardless of where you sat in the organization, could get together and you could share things that were happening and debrief, and sometimes share things that you wouldn't even feel comfortable sharing with some of your closest friends that weren't cops. So folks, welcome to choir practice. It's been so fun starting to share things with each of you. Chris, we got kind of an exciting night tonight. We got a couple things to talk about, but one I want to mention right off the bat is you have 30 minutes left to get the 4 books that we made available. So folks, if you're interested in getting those books, we're going to start doing drawings tonight. And give those away. There will be 4 people who you can choose either Who Killed King Tut or Jane. And then at the end of the night, we'll have one person who will get all 4, and we'll get those signed and off to you. So please, you got 30 minutes to sign up, and then we're going to start drawing away. Chris, we've already got some folks that have been chatting. What do we got coming in on the wire there?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike. So let's take a look at the hot sheet, right? That's what we'll call some of the things rolling in here. Scott Peterson, top of the docket here. Looks like the fruitcakes did it once more and reversed his penalty phase, took him off the death penalty list. And basically, essentially what happens is they kicked it back down to the Superior Court. And the DA now has an option in Modesto up there to whether or not to continue with the death penalty phase again. He's still guilty of the crimes. The courts have found, they have ruled that verdict still stands. However, he also gets a second bite at the apple in relationship to the death penalty itself. So the DA has 2 choices, Mike. They can either, one, he rolls automatically, life without the possibility of parole, or 2, they can take it back on and put it before another jury and argue the death penalty circumstances. So
it's really upsetting. It's upsetting to a lot of folks that this happened, and folks, it's really not that big a deal, other than he would have gone through other appellate courts as he continued to fight against the death penalty. The very worst that can happen is he spends the rest of his natural life in prison, Chris, right? I mean, that's the very worst that can happen in this thing.
Yeah, and unless, they release prisoners early for, COVID or something to that effect, I mean, theoretically, he could be eligible for that and he could walk. So we'll wait to see, how that's all going to unfold. So,
but the other side that I keep thinking about too, having worked as the chief in an attorney general's office, is that it's not always that bad either, because now you have a chance to go back and argue things based on information that you know about the case that may not have been available then. And so they're going to have an opportunity to really explore a lot of things. And you might find a jury that is not sympathetic at all, and he may be right back where he is now. But I mean, it's the best system we got, and by golly, we ought to be really grateful for it. And before I go on, I want to just shout out to Melissa Carvel. Thank you so much. Scott Peterson. We posted that up, and it's going to be available to everybody just to look at the court documents, right, Chris?
Yeah, we threw the court docs up today, just so everybody can take a look at it. And Darcy Ann 66, thank you so much. Mike, we've got a lot. We've got a lot that we're gonna unpack here tonight. I mean, and there's just so much going on with some of these other situations going on around town, et cetera. But two things. One, we are so grateful, Mike and I. Again, we really appreciate everybody's support for us in terms of what we're doing here, the messaging, and I mean, we've got some big stuff coming at the end of this show that you're not going to want to miss. It will be brand new information on the Morphew case, and so we're gonna get into some stuff. And Mike, what do you think about where we're headed here tonight? Who else do we have on the hot sheet?
Well, I guess first, folks, a hot sheet generally is all the stolen cars that happened in the shift before you, or those things that are standing out, or suspects that we're trying to find and get arrest warrants served on. So as you hear, Chris is like the master of the lingo stuff. I just love having him throw these things out. But I think we just should call out a few folks, Chris, that we're seeing online, like RN student Jen Deaver, Karen Sue, Miss Sophia, Carolyn Murray. Who else?
Barney Fife. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's just Beth, Sandy Lee, Teresa Short. Thanks a lot, folks. And you know what? I don't know that a day goes by that I don't get corrected by a few people on mistakes that I've made or something that I've gotten wrong in there. You cannot hurt our feelings, folks. If you're not shooting at us, it's just not that serious to us, and we will try to fix everything we can when we make those mistakes. So call them out, because it helps us get better, and also cut us a little slack once in a while when we just say something goofy that doesn't work right. And I really do want you to know we really appreciate the fact that you call that out. Coat of Many Colors, thank you so much. Joyce, Rebel Rose, Jamie, Texas Chick, all of you. You're just awesome.
Crime, Semper Fi. We're watching you. Where's my potatoes? Let's see here. ABD. She's just thank you, loyal. So let's see.
Kid 02 said, how did you say Peterson could walk? That's not likely. What we're saying is that the court has reversed the ruling on the death penalty, and it's now incumbent upon the state to either go back and retry that phase of the penalty, or to just give him life imprisonment. What Chris was saying is that far wild shot that COVID or something else may cause the prisons to do a dump of people in prison, thinking that they're not a risk anymore. But I just don't think that's likely. Do you, Chris?
No, I don't see that happening. I mean, not at the category where he's at. And Mike, explain what death row looks like up at San Quentin. I mean, you've been up there many times. I mean, you were down the hall from him interviewing Richard Ramirez, if I remember.
Richard Ramirez and Brandon Wilson, actually. Yeah,
Brandon.
Yeah. So folks, Chris and I have been in a number of prisons. I did a study with Greg Cooper, who will be our guest Thursday night, for the Bureau of Justice. And we did a study on serial predators who selected elderly victims as their victim to sexually assault and then murder. I mean, how's that for a title of your next book? There was a big article that we wrote on that was put out through the Journal of Nursing, and the study focused, and I'm kind of taking a side curve here, but the study focused on these offenders who were sexually motivated by elderly women, and they had to have multiple victims in order to fit in the study that we did. And we traveled throughout the United States talking to offenders who fit the bill. But the one thing that I guess that all comes back to Chris's question is, I think I've been in a batch of
you have
maximum security or death row sites.
I was getting worried about you for a little while,
and some of those prisons, even in the United States, are just dank and cold and stinky, and And those death row inmates, for instance, you and I talked to one just a couple of days ago on the phone. This fellow has been underground in the hole for 30 years. He doesn't even get fresh air. And his only time, 1 hour a day, he goes out into a little cubicle that is fresh air, but rarely does he ever see the sunshine there. He might see daylight because it's obviously daytime. But yeah, death row is an ugly place.
Yeah, they call those special housing units, SHU units, SHU. And when you enter the prison, before you get there, you have to call. And they tell you, hey, don't wear certain clothing and then when you get there, they make you sign a waiver. And that waiver says they have a no hostage policy. So basically, if a riot goes down or something like that goes down in the prison and you happen to be on the yard, you're on your own. And obviously, being guys like us, that's the last thing we want because, it could be a problem. So Leah Furnace, reunite Papa Morphew with granddaughters, love from Bama. That was a request from Andy. As you saw that video, he's trying to make that connection. There's a lot of things floating around about, phones being disconnected or people being blocked. That's not true. That's not true. Okay, we'll just nip that, tonight. End of that story. So we'll move on from there. Who else do we have? Netflix.
I want to just talk about this one real quick. Deanna Sanders said, "I'm wondering if you've ever been wrong about a case."
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have.
Yeah, sure. And that's why it's so important, Deanna, that we don't make decisions based on a single form of evidence. And if you go back and look at our video on the forms of evidence, we talk about how important it is that you do not make a decision only based on one form of evidence. Now, that becomes really difficult, Chris, when you're talking about a case where it may just be eyewitness, a sexual assault where there's no physical evidence because it's happened years ago or they were cleaned up after the event. But what a great question, Deanna. And
that's a great question. But I will also say in my career, I never made a false arrest.
I would agree with that.
So yeah. I've been wrong about cases. And when I have, realized there was potentially other situations, I've never put anybody in prison that didn't do it. In fact, there was some cases, there's a case, her name is Rebecca Jensen. And it was 1995. And there was a guy in jail for her caper, and I unwound it and got him out of jail. So, and got the right 3 people in jail. So, yeah, have I made mistakes? Like Mike? Yeah, we both make mistakes. We're human. But that's where we're at on that.
That's great. There were some great conversations this week on It's a Crime on Tyson Draper's channel. I just saw Sweetie Pilo's name spin by there. I heard her chatting on Web Sleuths this week. Folks, this is an interesting community. And one thing that Chris and I have tried to do is not go into competition with all these folks. There are some really good things being mentioned in each of those groups. And of course, the kind of niche that we are trying to fill is this investigative middle ground to say, let's look at evidence and let's really look and weigh out things as a cumulative thing, not just as single events. And so we just are so grateful for the relationship that we have with all of them. I think it's just a great relationship. It's just Beth. Thanks a lot. Do you think law enforcement looked into prisoners who were COVID released around the time Suzanne went missing? I'll throw that at you, Chris, but I'm very confident that they looked at sexual predators, the registered sex offenders, that people that were on parole or probation. I don't think they left many things unturned.
Yeah, I think the investigation's still ongoing. So I'm sure they're going to do the right thing. It'll fall into place.
Something else interesting. Something else interesting happened this week. Chad Daybell had his arraignment, and he waived that arraignment. We had gosh, I think 700 of our viewers online to watch that when it was going on. It was rather quick with him waiving that. Bottom line, folks, is that he obviously knows there's enough evidence to bind him over, and sometimes it's a financial decision. Other times it's just they don't want the public to hear all the crummy stuff one more time that they've done or that they're accused of doing. So he waived that, and that's been set for trial January 11 through 29 of 2021. So they've got 4 months to start putting their package together and figure. There'll be a pretrial conference on December 10th. And folks, that's a time when the attorneys can get together with the judge and see if they've found a way to work out a plea negotiation or argue about the kind of evidence they're going to be putting forward, those kinds of things. So,
and Mike, we're not going to tip our hat, but we have coming a pretty good intel package that's being put together. I'm not going to say anything, but I just want to give our listeners that you're not going to want to miss what we're coming up with here. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah,
Zelda, Tecate, Mexico Orphanage, 1983. Help us understand that.
Talk about the evidence room, Chris, because I don't know that case.
I don't know about that one. So the evidence room, I mean, if you have information in relationship to a particular incident, first we ask you to call 911 and or tip line if it's available. And then second, if you want to throw it up into the evidence room, just go ahead over to profilingevil.com /evidence room, and you can throw all your information up in that. Mike and I and our other team members, Natalie and Rob, and we have Lois Lane behind the scenes who catch that information. So we're grateful.
We're going to introduce you to Lois sometime. You'll never see her face.
Yeah, and Buddy.
But she is an amazing investigative reporter who is really helping us a lot and spent a lot of years as a reporter. So we have affectionately called her Lois Lane, and that's the name you'll come to know her as. Folks, did you take advantage of the new map that we put up? I hope some of you have seen it. I think there's, here's the link on the screen. If you go to this link, there's a little survey that you can fill out to say what kind of programming you want to see. And it shows us everyone that has logged in. You don't have to get specific. You can just say the city or the neighboring city. A couple of you have picked the middle of the Atlantic, and that is one slow-moving boat, Chris, because it never moves. So, folks, pick a place, and but don't lie about it. This is really fun for us to be able to see the influence that this group has and where your peers are coming from. So, I hope you're taking advantage of that and putting in your information there. Yep. Big Mike, thanks a lot. What do you think of the interview that Lauren did with Barry? Man, she got the interview. What more can you say? I mean,
it's perfect.
Yeah. Chris invited Barry at least 4 times to come on the show, and he didn't bite, but he did talk to Lauren. And
we even said, go talk to Lauren. Well, great. Just start talking. That's good.
Yeah. Now, would we like to talk to him still? Oh, yeah. I think we'd like to talk to him. Yeah. Give him a place where he can share some of the ideas that he has, why he's not talking about this case. There probably are good reasons. Sandy Lee, thank you. Do you think Lori will get help being brainwashed? Oh, boy.
Thank you.
That is going to be one complex case to watch unravel, isn't it?
I'll tell you. You know, you've got, what does Linda call them over at It's a Crime? Portal potties or something like that. She's hysterical. It's awesome. You know, the elevator's not at the top floor on that one right now. So we'll go ahead and take that.
Now, everybody, welcome to choir practice. It's really awesome. What do you got going there?
Vacaville. So, hey, prayers to you guys out there. Mike, they're under a bunch of fires up there, wildfires in NorCal. I heard that it's kind of getting over towards Monterey and stuff. So be careful and get out of there if you're told to leave. Please don't mess with. You guys know that up there. Don't mess with that stuff over there. It's very, very dangerous. And working down in Southern California, we saw our fair share of wildfires. They can be horrendous. So our prayers will be with you tonight on that stuff. It's
amazing.
What else we got?
So, Chris, why don't you talk about merchandise?
People
have been writing us about merchandise.
Yep.
And I have a personal favorite that's come out, but why don't we talk about that?
Yeah. So, we put together some things right for now, and there's hit that link below down in the description. You're going to see a link that will take you over to the merch page, and then also hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends. We're, as Mike says, we're still learning, we're still trying to figure it out, but we want to hear back what you have to say about things you'd want to see. We've got a bunch of animal stuff we're hoping to get up there. We've got some shirts, t-shirts, hoodies, and the standard stuff.
Don't we have something for the canine unit?
Yes, we do. We've got, and we also, Mike came up with a great idea. So, Mike, for like sunglasses, what is it going to say on the side?
So we're going to have 3 choices. One that's available right now, and it's my personal favorite, is a mask for you to wear during COVID. Yep. And it's going to say "Speak No Evil" on it with the Profiling Evil logo.
Yep.
We'll also have, when winter hits, the cap to put on. It'll say "Hear No Evil." And then we'll obviously have to come out with sunglasses that say "See No Evil." So we hope to see that. And what we'll do is you can start when you get your merchandise, then put a Twitter out with #Profiling Evil, and we'll watch for that, and we'll call you out, put your picture up or something, and we'll have some fun with it. And
some of those items, there's links in there that there'd be a donation to some kids charities too, right, Mike? I mean, we'll see some of those. So, we're grateful that everybody is supporting us, but more importantly, we're hoping that you're having fun. That's the idea here. So we've got a bunch of question over here. Fires in Colorado. Barb, I did not know that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And, let's keep those firefighters and those public safety folks also in our prayers, our PE community.
There's actually, what we'll do is we'll put out a link, Chris. There's a map that shows all of the wildfires across the United States in real time. So you can see this darn country just is burning up right now. And we got to keep those wildland firefighters in our thoughts and prayers, because that is one tough job. And boy, I'd hate to be doing that personally. So,
we love our firefighter friends. We love our nurses, our paramedics, anybody in public safety, doctors. I mean, just our prison personnel. I mean, anybody that dedicates their life to service to the public. We want to give them a shout out. And many of you are here as our PE community and family. We're grateful that you're here, and we're hoping that you're able to feel good about some of the things that we're doing here. And dispatchers, I mean, Mike, how many times do dispatchers get the opportunity for somebody to say thank you to them?
Not near enough.
It's not near enough.
It's amazing that dispatch system, as you mentioned that, we're running today off of a 50-year-old analog system. When you dial 911, it is a busted down old system, and there is effort underway in Washington to try to get the 911 industry more money to try to upgrade. It's going to be billions of dollars to upgrade the United States to they call it next generation 911. And for our telecommunicators that are out there working in the PSAPs, and folks, a PSAP is a public safety answering point, the dispatch centers. To all of those that are listening in, thank you. And I know that there are a batch, because I've heard from you on some personal emails. And so, yeah, Chris, thanks so much for bringing it up. And we'd love to hear from the police officers that are out there working. We actually sent out a note this morning to about 40 police departments, some chiefs that Chris and I know, just telling them that we would spotlight their unsolved homicides or their missing person cases from time to time. And so if you're in law enforcement and you have cases in your agency, we'd invite you to reach out, much like we did with Carlsbad a few weeks ago. And we'll talk about your case and try to bring some public light to it. Because I think that's really what's making a difference for the Morphew family and why we're hearing the Mormons reach out and ask Profiling Evil to share some thoughts. It's not something we intended to do, folks. But when families have gained the trust that they have for us and ask us to do that, holy cow, how do you say no, Chris? I mean, that's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was humbling. We're grateful that this platform is able to message for them because, there's some things, I mean, we'll talk about here getting into, Suzanne and some of the things that we've been doing through, not only our intel, but through, some of the interviews that we've been, hearing about and actually following up on and chasing. The one thing Mike and I, we promised you, we're not going to get into speculation and we're not going to entertain he said, she said, and, lefts and rights, that does nothing. We started this whole thing in the very beginning when Suzanne disappeared. We recognized right off the very, very beginning, from the very beginning, there are two families who are victims here. The Morphew family and the Mormon family. And these dynamics, unless you've ever worked a murder case and or a missing person case, you'll be surprised how quickly, if one or the other is accused of doing something, that those dynamics that have been in place for years, 30, 40 years, get very, very interesting. And it's the families that recognize within inside themselves that they've both been victimized, that they get through it. People make decisions, and it's our responsibility to kind of keep it focused. Go ahead,
Chris. I thought it was interesting. Some of the viewers have been concerned with whether we're trying to monetize some things. I thought this was a great example. I mean, this video that you posted up today of Mr. Mormon's plea to his granddaughters, they are going to let us know when they get a yay or a nay, making sure the message somehow gets to the end of the row. And then that video is coming down. I mean, it's not about that. It's about trying to help this family. And folks, we've had the opportunity to sit with them and hear the aches, and you have been able to see those aches as you've watched the interviews. These things, there are no winners in these cases. None at all. And that's what, I mean, let's use Scott Peterson as a perfect example. Okay. That case tore those families apart. Okay. To this day. Okay. Yeah. Scott Peterson did it. His mom and dad didn't do it. Lacey's family didn't do it. Her parents. But that case, Scott tore that family apart. And we were asked, to just kind of mitigate some of that, be honest with you. I mean, and that's what this channel stands for. And we will continue to do that. And that's the right thing to do. Nobody has ostracized anybody. I can tell you that from our discussions with the family. We still have two young ladies out there who are buried children. Those girls, they're his kids, and he loves them. I'm sure of it. Okay. However,
We also have another family who's saying, we would like to talk to them. Okay. Can we put a message up? And, the other night, Gene forgot to put that message out, and he got hold of his son and said, would you please put that message out? And we said, sure, we're going to put it out. But as soon as they come to you, we need to know when that is. And we're taking it down. And that's how that unfolded. So here we are tonight.
No. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Diane Colvert, thank you so much for the comments and for the support. I'm really looking forward to, I think you bring up a great time to talk about Suzanne. Okay. And in preparation to talk a little bit about Suzanne, for those in the members area, we posted up a story map just a while ago on Sydney Sutherland, and this is that beautiful gal in Arkansas who was out jogging, and a suspect named Llewellyn apparently took her life. I don't know that there was a lot we could do other than we wanted to try to get this content out. In a couple of days, it'll be out to everybody, but those in the membership, if you'd look it over and give us some thoughts on it. But what I'd like to do, Chris, is maybe as we're moving along here, just go in and talk about the story map that we've created on the Morphew case, just to kind of give everyone a way to remind and keep this thing in the limelight. And you'll notice we're really focusing heavily on the fact this is Suzanne Morphew. And this is two families that have been impacted, and I think that's really come to light for us recently. Anything you want to say before I kind of dive in, and we'll just kind of explore this a little bit. And folks, this will be posted up for you to take advantage of as soon as the program is over tonight, so you'll all be able to play with this and tweet it out and share it, and that's what we hope you'll do.
Yeah, no, I just want to remind everybody, Mike, at the end of this broadcast tonight, we have another message that we will be putting up. You're not going to want to miss this one. Trust us. So let's get into this, Mike.
Well, good. So a story map is simply a way to have geography and a story walking side by side and helping us kind of explore and learn what's going on. So hopefully you'll have some fun with this. We start out with May 9th when everything goes quiet in the social networking that's going on. In fact, Chris, from what we understand, somewhere past noon, I'm going to leave it at that, the conversation between Suzanne and a close friend is suddenly stopped.
Yep. That's the information that we have firsthand.
Yeah.
So there's text messages going back and forth, and it ends on the 9th.
So we know that family gets involved. The children are wondering, mom's not responding to texts. Eventually a neighbor's notified, and there's some pretty good information out there, folks, online, and we actually talk a little bit about it in here of how all of that unfolds. But what they determine is Suzanne's missing, and they start to look for her. On this story map, when you explore it, you're going to see the breakdown of what time her husband gets home from Denver, happens to be out of town, lets people know, and I think we talked about it in our last broadcast, that he leaves at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's something the family talked about. Yep. And then he discovers sometime during the day, and we don't really know the exact time that the 911, or actually it wasn't a 911 call, it was a welfare check call, right, Chris?
Welfare check, yep.
Yeah, so the difference, folks, is law enforcement, when there's ever any question, will get what's called a welfare check, where they can go and knock on the door and just try to ascertain that somebody is okay, versus a 911 call, which requires much more of an exigent kind of response, where they might kick a door or do some other things. But they discover that she's missing, and they are given some information that she's potentially on a bike. They immediately start searching, and the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office does search on Mother's Day. And I always thought that was impressive in the response, Chris, was that they didn't wait a couple of days, because this is just a missing persons case.
Yeah, no, they kicked it into high gear almost immediately. And Makazi, thank you so much. Just real fast while we're going through this. Yeah, it just went right. Okay, let's go. Make this thing happen.
Yeah. So we
And they
start
shut
going
it
through.
down too, Mike. They shut it down immediately too, right? Let's not
Yeah.
forget that piece. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. When you go in here, you'll have the ability to go in and look at all kinds of things. Like if you want to listen to Barry's plea for Suzanne, you can go in and click on that, get the information. So it's kind of made so you can interact with it and have a little fun with it, explore a little bit, not just be given some static slide that you can't do anything with. We then start seeing the search ramp up. And on these maps, what you're going to find is that you can, just take some quick hyperleaps to different places. For instance, take me to the bike recovery site. You can go right in and start looking at that particular area, or you can go to where the personal items were recovered. And we actually have uncovered some evidence this week that suggests that the personal items were not in this position, a place where the media has talked about for a long time. And we talk about that a little later in our investigation. But the story map's kind of cool because you can just explore and interrogate the information, look at different areas. You're not stuck with just one location. The other thing that we did is we just put in a 3-dimensional map. So if you look down here in the bottom left of the screen, you can actually go in and start exploring this 3-dimensional map. You can even make it larger if you want or whatever, but it gives you the ability to go in and, again, start to just kind of interrogate all the things you're reading in a different way. You'll see some news stories. Go ahead, Chris.
No, Mike, that's going to be real important. We're still trying to confirm something geographically, but that 3D is going to play a critical role in that. So I just wanted to point that out, later on, not this particular storyboard, but the more intel that we're going to be pulling up here in the next week or so.
Yeah. And by the way, this is all courtesy of our good friends at Esri who have given us licensing to take advantage of all this stuff. You'll see some nice stuff on the latest news articles and other kinds of things. And there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's probably missing, folks. So, just keep in mind, it's just a stab at information. There have been so many questions about cell towers that we decided just to throw in a segment to talk a little bit about cellular towers and show you where the cell towers are in this area. Now, some of you were pretty frustrated because we cut this clip back. Sorry, but we wanted to just give you a sampling and a taste of what cell phone analysis is all about. So as you go through that, just know that there can that we will invite someone at some point to come in and really explore cell phone analysis sometime to help you get a better feel for that. And then we threw in like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile with the new merger with Sprint, all of their cell phone coverage areas. I'm not exactly sure why, but it just seemed like the right thing to do. And then we go into the actual press conference. We talk a little bit about things like, where was Barry when all this happened? What were the possible routes that he would have taken to drive to Denver? And there are a couple that seem to be the most reasonable. And again, all of those folks, you can go in and you can explore in detail if you want. So just go have some fun with it. We put all the press releases from the sheriff's office so you can read through those one by one and kind of get a sense of what they're doing. And interestingly, you can see where where things change and where they go from regular press conferences to a little further apart, and little or no communication to that point. We had to include our good friend Tyson and talk about the interview that he did. And we break down the 4 areas that are potential answers. And do you remember those 4 areas are, Chris? I mean, that was kind of interesting still.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the cat, the abduction, the crash, and Remind me of the fourth one, Mike. I forget the fourth
It's
one.
the new one that you're going to hear more about if you look at Lauren's interview.
That's right.
And when you hear our discussion with Andy later tonight, Suzanne's brother, this new explanation that's come up of not a stranger abduction, but someone who's known to Suzanne.
To her. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we go in and we break down the search warrants and the different search warrants and where those warrants were happening. And you can go in and explore and we may not be right on the money on some of the location, like this particular one of where the house was. Did our best to try to understand. I'm not familiar enough with the area. So if somebody corrects us on that, we'll kind of tweak it and get that into the right place. And then we threw in something that Chris brought up that became really important. And I think we ended up seeing Lauren Scherf follow up on. Yep. And that was the fact that there were, well, why don't you explain it, Chris?
So this is, so there was a question as to whether or not why the slab would be torn up, right? And there's a lot of speculation around that. So, we'll just kind of let that set. However, what we do know, factual, is on that permit up there, those two permits, some of the contractors there, one of them is George Davis. He's our Army guy. He's a good guy. He was in the military. He may have done, missions, but definitely not 400 tours. I think that was just, Barry, quite frankly, probably just misspoke on that one. We'll give him that for sure. But George is a good guy, and he actually showed up initially to start organize some of the searches. However, it was just totally bedlam, and you'll hear about why that is later on. After this presentation tonight, you'll hear it directly from the folks that were there.
Yeah, I think we've invited George to come on the show. Haven't heard back, but again, folks, I mean, we're not interested in doing anything more than learning what people know about. This became kind of interesting too, and was reported on this week. We have been aware of this for a number of weeks, and frankly, Chris and I sat on it thinking that it was an important piece of information. But Lauren was able to report that this note was written by Suzanne's husband and placed in a store. Kind of an odd thing, the way that was.
Yeah, the information was that, at some point, a couple of days into the search, that he showed up at the store, didn't give a description, wrote it up on this piece of paper, what she was wearing, and then kind of presented there. But one of the other pieces is that information was reported early on. And so this note had, been sent in. So we're glad Lauren was able to grab it and get a picture of it.
And you'll find that Chris and I generally don't like to be the one to release information. We've been really fortunate to learn a lot of things that have confirmed our suspicions, and they won't be released until, in many cases, someone else does it, as we kind of watch, knowing what our former brothers in blue are trying to do. Then we had, I think, a pretty remarkable week last week. Why don't you share this, Chris?
Yeah, so Mike and I were contacted by the family. Dad, Suzanne's dad, Gene Mormon, desired to put a message out, and he trusted us to do that. And so he, you'd probably get a chance if you haven't seen his video. He had a couple of ideas. He wanted to get Suzanne home. He is suffering from cancer. He feels that his time is limited, and he knows that his daughter is still missing. So he used, social media as a platform for a plea to please bring her home. And so we were honored to have an opportunity to meet them and to provide that platform. It was very humbling at the conclusion of it.
Yeah, it was awesome. And folks, you'll find on the story map, you can click on any of those. You don't have to go to another location to watch things. So if you want to watch the information released 10 days or so ago, you can click on that, go right in, or you can grab whatever's in the main screen there, or the newest message from the grandfather to their children. All of those are in there, and we'll continue to kind of update this. This will be a living document that as we learn more, we'll try to get back in and put something in there so that it's kind of a single source place for you to go. And we just wanted to end it with just who this remarkable woman is, with some neat shots about her. And these are all Suzanne and Suzanne's life. We are not putting up pictures of her children or anyone else. Suzanne Morphew is the person of focus here. And I hope you'll just take some time and explore this map and get to know her better, and maybe just get to know the case better. And we hope that you'll share it with everybody you know. It's an open link, so please tweet it, send it out, Facebook it, whatever. Let's get it out to as many people as you can. And please invite them to come to the channel and give us a shot and consider subscribing. We just hit 21,000 people today, Chris, that have subscribed to this channel in the last 7 weeks since we started. It's amazing to us, and thank you so much. But I don't know, any thoughts on Suzanne before we take a break and see who our first winner is on a book?
Mike, I think we've got a lot coming. And again, just to reiterate, at the end of this, you're going to see another family message. And then just call that number. Call CBI, call the FBI. If you have information, please call. The family is really, really in need of information. So, look, what do we got on? What do we got on the hot sheet, Mike?
If you'll start putting some questions in, we've got Tyler and Tim in the background collecting questions, and they'll start putting them up on the screen. But let's announce who the first winner of either. Let's see, it's either.
All these books are good, by the way, folks. Every single one of these. Actually, every one of these books is good, by the way. And Mike's too humble. He won't talk about them, but I can because I'm his partner. This Who Killed King Tut, that was the #1 show on the Discovery Channel, if you didn't get a chance to see it. And Mike and Coop went over to Egypt, and they had an opportunity to take a shot at solving that crime. And it won an Emmy, right, Mike?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was just fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go watch the show. Or maybe you can binge watch it on Netflix or something. If it's
you can find it, I think, on YouTube. And my hair's darker and a lot longer.
Yeah. And but and by the way, these are very too seasoned, not only profilers but officers. And Mike got robbed. I'm going to just say it, Mike. I'm going to tell the story. He got robbed in Egypt, almost robbed, right? He pulled an AK on you guys.
Yeah.
See,
we were there 2 weeks after 9/11, and it was not a safe time to be there.
Not a good time.
Yeah, we were there for a number of trips, but yeah, that was pretty wild.
Okay, so that's folks, behind the scenes, guy, only to our family.
So start writing your questions out, and then let's see who the first winner is, and you're going to need to let us know which one. Diane Dooley. Oh, please, if you're watching, shoot a quick message in, Diane. We're so excited to be able to give you one of the books. Thank you, everybody. It's really been fun to kind of watch this all come together. Diane Dooley, thanks a lot. So
congratulations.
Let's throw up a couple of questions and just see. Let's just have some fun now. Have some choir practice and see if we can answer some questions.
A lot of people donate too, Mike. We want to make sure we acknowledge.
Oh, I hope folks, if we missed you, we're so sorry. Cindy M., thank you, and thanks for just commenting on the not giving wild speculation. T. Royce, thank you so much. Yeah. Makaz 781, thank you. So why don't you grab that first question there, Chris?
Do we work together? Well, we sit on the same foundation.
Did you work together? Did we work together?
Oh, did we work together? Yes, absolutely. In fact, Mike was doing interviews with serial killers, and I had a up and coming serial killer, and we kind of crossed paths. Basically, chasing down serial killers. And so, yeah, we've worked together.
How many people can forge their friendship over that?
I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's a fun question. If you get a minute, go back and look at Chris's investigation of a little boy who was murdered named Matthew Checky. And Chris did such an amazing investigation on a case that was absolutely horrific. And that's where we became friends, was in the middle of his investigation there. So,
yeah. Sweetie Pilo, do we know whose vehicles were seen at the house when neighbors went over? Yes. One was Suzanne's new Range Rover, and the other was her older one. And they were both towed away by the law enforcement.
Some of the word we received was actually the other vehicle may have been driven by one of the daughters, but we don't know for sure if that's accurate.
Yep.
So, yeah, there you go.
What do we got here? What do you think about Jacqueline Swan? What do you think about Barry Morphew's commenting on the Bobcat timeline? I wonder if it's a reference to the machinery heard at the FBI dig site the older woman heard. Mike, what you want to grab that one? What do you think?
I don't know that we really have a sense of that. The part that on the Bobcat that was in question was actually it's called the blade, or the lower section of if you think of the front of a bucket on a Bobcat, which is just a small backhoe. There's a piece of metal that goes across the front that wears down because it's dragging on the ground. That was one of the pieces in question. And, like, we don't know. It could have been just an entire fluke that happened at the same moment. It could have been involved in something. We're like you, waiting for that to unfold.
Yeah. And, there's still a lot of information. I mean, are there repair shops in that area? And if so, crime fighters kind of poke around, see if anybody brought, equipment in to be sharpened or anything like that. You never know. I mean, it could be out there, but you guys are out and about. Mike, what do we got here? Drama must remain on the stage. I love it. Chris and Mike, how did you all get any work done? LOL. You all are fun. I know. This is choir practice.
I did all the work. I was the one doing all the work.
This is choir practice. This is exactly what this is for, so that everybody can just kind of sit on the couch and say, hey, what kind of day did you have? I mean, my goodness, Mike, is this crazy or what's going around here? I mean, look at this poor girl in Florida. There are a couple of them.
Yep. DeMolo and Cavett. I mean, it's Cavett. Just horrid. Yeah.
And then this young lady in Arkansas, and Peterson, getting a skate here, right? I mean, there's another terminology I want to introduce. Sometimes the world is 5150. Okay, you guys go look that up. Health and Safety Code 5150. It's a California Health and Safety Code. We're gonna love that one. Sometimes there's some interesting things. Let's see here. We've got a lot of wildfires going on in Colorado, in California. If you folks are, in that area, we want to let you know that we're thinking about you, and hopefully everything's going to go. Let's see. My eyes are going.
Nat Man just threw out a question about domestic violence, Chris. Maybe we could talk about that in a bit tonight. Just kind of put in your brain. Let's start rethinking some of the domestic violence concepts that we've known over the years, and maybe we can talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ideas, Mike. The one thing about DV, it's all about power and control, and there's a correlation, right, to these, and let's be honest here. I mean, it can go both ways, but 94% maybe it's going to be male dominated problem. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that shed, okay, there's a couple of, different categories of it.
Can we come back to that in a minute, Chris?
Of course.
I wanted to go through a couple more questions, and I want to take a minute and give a book away if we can.
Let's do it.
And then I'd like to maybe lock down and talk about domestic violence in some detail. So,
Thank you.
Okay, folks, just get ready for it. Draw Latina, thank you so much. And I, like you, am really grateful that Chris's microphone is finally working. Yeah. And I was the one responsible for the squeaky chair. I bought
Yes, he was.
a spray bottle of WD-40, and I'm now religiously applying WD-40 before every show. So,
well, now I don't sound like my dentures are popping out, according to a bunch of people. I guess I wear dentures, and I'm good with that, by the way. If you feel that, I appreciate your support there.
All right, let's give a book away. Joseph Valdez. Oh man, please, Joseph, if you're in the house, would you please hurry and post a comment? And again, folks, it's gonna be the choice of who killed King Tut or Jane. Jane is a story of the murder of my great-great-grandmother in 1891. 130 years after her death, I solved her murder, which is kind of a fun little thing. And then who killed King Tut? Whenever Chris gets too pompous about the hundreds of death investigations he's handled, I just say, what's your coldest case? And I remind him that King Tut is 3,400 years old. So
that's right. You win. You win. There's no question.
Let's see. All right. How about some more questions?
Yeah. What else we got going here? Let me dig through them. Let's give a shout out to everybody Diane Ledford, nice seeing you. Wendy Claire, Robin Swan, Leslie Irwin, Angela Azula. Thank you. Miss Peaches, Resident Scott Peterson, what's the difference in day-to-day living between life sentence and death row? So on death row, that in a life sentence, he'll probably just put in his own little, cubicle somewhere. And I'll tell you that it's scary. I mean, there's a couple of prisons up in Northern California. One of them is called Corcoran. And man, if you do not ever want to go to that place, because literally you are locked up 23 of 24 hours. And this is where they put the worst of the worst in the California prison system. But death row is over in San Quentin in the Bay Area. So it's bad. Day-to-day life sentence, no difference. You're stuck. Great question, Miss Peaches. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Grateful for that.
Here's a question that keeps popping up in our emails. So, folks, absolutely. I mean, there are points in investigations where you look at every option, and some things are more difficult for some officers to consider than others. But I can say comfortably that I have listened to what psychics have had to say in investigations. Chris, I think you still carry the cup for it, don't you?
Yes. Would you like to see it?
I think you may as well show them the cup. I mean, and you know what, folks? Just like physicians and police officers, there are some who are wacky and some who are really amazing. So what does that say?
This says Mick Rockpile. Okay, back in the day. How did I earn that cup? You may be thinking. Well, I show some of the capers that we've worked. We've had an opportunity to talk to. I will tell you that there was one gal, her name was Rosemarie Kerr, and we just lost her in 2015. She lived, you can look her up, Rosemarie Kerr. She was always behind the scenes. But I'll tell you what, this gal had a gift. She had a gift. I know of a case, it was a Louisiana case where She had 2 detectives with her, and that cup was part of where I earned that cup through Rosa Marie on some things. She sent me on some goose chases too, but I loved her to death, and we just lost her in 2015. Anyway, long story short, she was giving a reading, and the detective was there, or the brother of the victim was there. And she goes, "You need to go right now and call these investigators and have them go to this intersection." And she gave this intersection. It was a big story. And the brother left. Back then it was, pick up the phone, throw a quarter in and dial. And he got hold of the investigator and said, "Look, I'm out here. You need to go to this location." And this actually happened. They got to that intersection, and this truck came by. And the officer stopped the truck because she had given a description of a truck with a camper shell. And the victim was in the back of that truck. Now, yeah. I don't know I don't know how people, what they're going to say about it. Okay. But in that particular incident, yeah, it worked. But usually you want to go there towards the end, not towards the front.
Yeah. Yeah. So folks, never discount those kinds of things. And we have not discounted those in our careers. And I hope that they are never discounted. Somebody was asking, in fact, so many people have been mentioning in the chats about the fires. I wanted to just pull this up. These are all of the wildfires that are going on in the United States right now. This is real time. It's updated every 30 minutes and shows the size of and the spread of fire. And it's pretty darn remarkable. You'll see the larger those points are, if you look over in the far right corner, you'll see over here how many acres, 1,000,000 acres, 1,000 acres, whatever the case may be. But just kind of a fun idea. So you can go look up U.S. wildfire reports, and you'll be able to get that information and take advantage of it. So Albanian Aniza, Chris and Mike are a big deal from Oprah show and Dateline 48 Hours, everything and more. I knew that face. You guys are true. Oh, aren't you nice? And thank you so much. And I think we've been very blessed in our careers, haven't we, Chris?
Very blessed, very blessed. And it's a huge responsibility. And we're grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, and to be able to represent families, man, and the deceased in those cases.
Yep.
That never have a voice. It's really an honor. So
yeah, and that's a great point, Mike, because I think it's important to remember that as investigators who investigate homicide, we all make mistakes. We're meaning every human being on this earth. What's the old saying, right? Whosoever hath not sinned, let them cast the first stone. Okay, and that's solid. That's solid. And we didn't care if you were, a gang member, if you were, convicted of something and then, you got shot and killed. That individual still had a story. And as an investigators who investigate homicide, you learn to just put that stuff over here. And that's part of the victimology when you're breaking down a case. And it's just a matter of where they stuck themselves in that situation. But it doesn't make them any less of a victim. And when somebody's out and, have done other things too in their life, they need to be given a chance as well. They really do. So we need, people, we need to remember that. We need to look past certain things sometimes. It doesn't necessarily mean that you may agree or disagree with it, right? It just is. There you go. Let's see. What do you got, Mike?
Oh, I think this is just a call out. I love how Chris says caper. Reminds me of the 77 Sunset Strip.
That was an old show, yeah. I love
Miss Chu, thank you so much. Again, Dra Latina. And folks, I can't help it. Dra Latina, thank you. Cindy M., Thank you. We are so grateful. T. Royce, you all are just so fun to hang out with on a Monday night. Hope you're enjoying choir practice. Let's see if we got another question or two, Chris, and then let's take a minute and just talk about domestic violence. A lot of people have been asking about it. Maybe we just delve into that a little bit.
Okay, Mike. Okay. So what do we got here? Boy, aloha, by the way. From we had some folks I saw earlier. We saw some mahalo and aloha. I had an opportunity as a kid. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so we got stationed at Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station. So I have an aloha spirit, I guess, somewhere in here. But so let's. What do you think, Mike? Looks like what cases affect you the most? Oh boy, I'm gonna let Mike answer that one first.
It's different points in my life that have affected me the most. I remember probably the most impactful patrol event I had in my life was hearing of a man with dementia in the middle of the winter who had walked away without a jacket on from a care center and searching desperately, and finally was fortunate enough to be the one who found him wandering down a street, taking him home. Nobody ever heard about that, but it was, for me, like just such an emotional event to be able to get him back and get him back to his family. But without question, the homicide of children or those are tough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good answer. So we'll just let that one sit there. There are a couple that I think I know who did it, but we weren't able to, put all the pieces together. There is a cold case, still sticks with me. December 16th, 1989, a little girl in Southern California by the name of Leticia Hernandez. But I just talked to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they may have some movement on that. So we'll see what happens. But they're kicking that through. So thank you for that question. We're grateful for that. And I saw some folks here, Mike. They put up Kailua. I got to give a shout out to Kailua because that's where we lived. And I went to St. Anthony School, by the way. You folks in Kailua are going to know that Maui girl and everybody. So we'll get past that. But where's Buddy? Buddy's sleeping. Good golly, Miss Molly. Thank you for all you've done for victims and families throughout your careers. You're very grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're very considerate to say that to us. We're appreciative of that.
Chris, I think we do need one night to go into Leticia Hernandez, because that was a pretty impressive case that you did. And also, folks, I would just invite you to look up a case called Ian Wing, W-I-N-G, and his father, Mark, which was a case that I did the profile on and actually got the confession out of him for murdering this little 7-week-old baby. And again, boy, you bring some of those up and some of the nightmares start coming back. But
they come back.
That's so nice of you to ask about that, though.
Here's my case file, still in the board.
Lisa.
Well, it's interesting. I found an old buddy of mine. So, and I'm going to give a shout out to this because his daughter, this guy right here is Dave Grant. He's a motor officer. He was killed in the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Department up there. And this was back in the day when there was we used to call them floaters, because living by the water.
Yeah, you guys had lots of water around you, didn't you?
But Dave, shout out to Dave and his family. God bless you. Miss him every day. So let's talk about domestic violence, Mike.
Yeah.
I think that's important that we, we kind of bring a little attention to that. So there's what they call the power and control wheel. If you've never seen it, we can look it up. But so in this power and control wheels, there's this idea of, Mike and I, through our careers and through our experiences, been to, probably thousands of calls of DV. And back in the early days, police would get there and you would kind of handle it where, can you leave? Can you leave? Okay. All right. Let's separate for the time, and everybody goes their different directions. And, most of the time there was, alcohol or drugs or something on board, and it would just cause a real problem. So the goal was just to separate the parties. Well, I think early 90s, mid 90s, Mike, when things really started to change and we started seeing, a little more proactive approach to domestics. The laws started changing where, these poor women who were in this cycle of abuse, actually the court system gave them a way out. And so the laws were strengthened, and it became a felony, versus, just kind of separating. And cops at that time, didn't have a choice. If the victim said, hey, I don't want him arrested. Okay. That wasn't a choice. And that's how it is today. The officer has no other option but to take him into custody and book him. Mike, what are your thoughts while I'm going down that lane?
It was such a welcome relief when law enforcement was finally given the power, or had it even taken away, maybe is a better way to put it, that when certain criteria were met, you had to put someone in jail and you had to get them in front of a magistrate where counseling could be required. The thing that I learned in my career was that it doesn't get better in those cases. And this belief system that somehow it will get better doesn't seem to happen. And it starts in a bunch of different ways. But I mean, some of those ways, I don't know, intimidation. Let's talk about intimidation for a minute.
Yeah. So there's usually a couple of categories within it, right? There's, they use, an individual can use gestures, looks, smashing things, destroying property, abusing their pets, or even, it could get as crazy as displaying, pulling weapons to say, I'm going to do this or something to that effect. So it can start escalating pretty quickly, into an event. And then the next, Mike, we've got emotional abuse. What do you think?
Many victims will talk about the emotional abuse as long lasting, much longer than the bruising or the other kinds of things. And that there is a process of grooming through that emotional abuse that even gets the victim to start to question whether they really are understanding reality, and if the offender's reality that they're trying to place on them is actually the correct one. But it becomes all of these crazy things like putting people down or playing mind games. Just recently, as I was speaking to some victims from a case many years ago, they said today still they fight with a feeling and a need to be a perfectionist. Everything has to be perfectly in order because that was the type of abuse they were subjected to as a child. And while they've long since gotten past any fear of intimidation, they can't get past the emotional triggers. But yeah, emotional is big. So I'm going to chuck back at you. How about isolation?
Big, huge. Separation from families, controlling what an individual does, sees, talks, reads, where they go. Big time tool, big time emotional tool. Limiting outside involvement, and that's usually connected to some serious inadequacies in relationship to jealousy, right? And I think we're going to look into some, other aspects of how deep that can go. I know we're studying that a little bit more, and who we can get to potentially come and talk about that for folks, right? What about minimizing and the blame game, Mike? Right, that kind of falls into that.
I always found this one troubling because somehow these people when they make light of this abuse, stand up, be a man, quit acting that way. Those kinds of cutting kinds of things become internalized, and they're repeated behaviors that then that child will grow into an adult and use. These are the kind of people that are shifting blame for the abuse. I wouldn't have to do this if you weren't such a jerk, or and none of that is appropriate, and none of it is acceptable. And you just get so angry when you think about the demeaning, controlling behavior of some people, particularly men, I'm sad to say.
Yeah. They shift that blame.
Yeah. So what about when parents use children as part of this abuse cycle?
Yeah, that's one of the wheel spokes, right? And where they put this feeling of guilt on a victim. That you caused this. They use their kids to relay messages.
Yeah.
They use visitation as a form of harassment or isolation.
That one really bugs me, when they leverage visitation. The child becomes a pawn in this mad game that they're playing. It's so psychotic.
It's psychotic. It is. And then they get to that, where now the kids become potential, not only victims, but they utilize them as pawns to where they will threaten, you'll never see the kids again. I mean, how many times have we investigated homicides, Mike, where, it was a DV and it just exploded into, problems. We could go on for a long time on that conversation, but what about economic abuse too? I mean, we've got that also on the wheel.
Oh, this one is another one that drives me crazy. And folks, I hope I'm not inflaming things for you personally. These are my personal biases about this when economics become involved. I remember handling the sexual assault of 6 daughters, a stepfather who was sexually abusing him, and I got a confession out of him of sexually assaulting all these children. And do you know who my biggest challenge in that family was, Chris? Was the mother, who didn't want anything exposed because she didn't want to lose the economic train that came with him and him going to prison. I get the fear, but I cannot imagine that becoming more important than the safety of your daughters. I never got over that. But in the same light, I never got over, and again, I think it's often men or the primary breadwinner in a family, this idea of spouse, you're spending my money. Baloney. This is our money. And this idea that there are bank accounts controlled by one spouse or the other rather than jointly held. Now, if you got mental illness in the family or something, there may be reasons to do some of this, but those always to me were signs of control, and that never is a good thing in my opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's just,
how about coercion? And then maybe we can chase a book or two. Get on a subject that's a little less heavy. Now I'm starting to get angry.
High school and college level DV happens too. Look up yearly love murder case. I think awareness is you know what? Karoki Okarami, that is an outstanding point. Prevention is the awareness to that prevention is the key. You're right. It is the key. And one of the things that, we know this is a deep topic, but, it is also a reality that's happening in our society. And, we feel comfortable based on our experience, trying to help. I mean, we're by all means, are we not the experts in relationship to this? However, we are seeking those gals and guys who mostly, counsel, teach, train internationally on this subject. And we've reached out to a couple of them to invite them to our show So hopefully we get some positive response on that, but we want to bring awareness to it because, I can't tell you how many homicides I've investigated that started off, with just a fight, and then it exploded into the evening. And that's the coercion and the threats on that. I mean, an individual makes a threat, and then, let's say hypothetically, a person says, "Hey, I need some space here. Let's just kind of separate." Okay. And that male privilege, we'll call it male privilege, just kind of dominates a situation. Okay. That's very dangerous. Okay? We're the first ones to admit it. Okay. And recognize it. Okay. And so it's always good that you understand that we understand these are manipulating behaviors that these guys use. Okay. And to make you aware of that so you can avoid that. And always follow your gut. If you have that gut, you're right. You're right. Okay, follow it. So, because they'll try to convince you when they're arrested. Let me go. Do me a favor, call me. Okay. No, don't. Empower yourself. Don't do it. Leave them in. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I want you to wrap up that last one I threw at you, but then I want to say too, this may offend some people, and this may offend some men, and I am going to stand on what I have to say here, is that kind of behavior by men. I've never been a woman, so all I can answer for is being a man. But any man who thinks that is the definition of a man is not a man in my book. And I just pray, folks, if you are being subject to that you find a way to get safe. You figure out an exit plan if you're being abused, and you get out and demand that things change. But don't think it will get better inside. But anyway, so why don't you close out that last thought, Chris?
Mike, it's a heavy discussion. It's a heavy discussion. I'm crossing my fingers that Suzanne's not a victim of it. I really am. I'm praying that that's not the case. That could be a problem. Well, I don't know, but we'll find out at some point. So we've got a lot. How about a book? Let's do a book and get something a little lighter right now. But I want to say before we go to that book, to the people that I know on this group of 1,000 people tonight, that there are some among you who have been victimized, and survivors, some that you are now survivors. How proud we are of you, and please educate and take the lessons you've learned and help others to understand. But thank you, because I know that there are lots of little scabs that got torn off just as we were talking through that. So please know that was certainly not our intent to bruise anybody. Unless you're the man that's doing it, or the woman, and there are women who have been domestic violence perpetrators. So it's not a one-sided deal. Well, let's see who won a book. We got 2 more to give away before the big drawing, I think. So Katie Bacon, Katie, will you please type something if you're here? And we'll reach out and find out which of the 2 books you'd like, King Tut or Jane, and hopefully you'll have fun with them. And we'll start talking more about Jane in the future because we are going through a little bit of an adjustment to that, and then we're going to have the publisher will be sending out a new lot. So for those of you who are asking about that. There's been, with COVID, a little bit of a stop in production, and we're waiting for that to get kicked off again. But thank you so much, Katie. Congratulations. Yeah, definitely. And to keep things light, Mike, we're very grateful for everybody. We really are. I mean, as we keep saying that we got into this, hoping to make a difference, and we're hoping that we're making a difference. We've got other things, coming. We've got a lot in the pipeline. One of the guys, you're not going to want to miss they're not going to want to miss Coop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Greg Cooper's, he's the real deal, like Mike and many others, but he was in the BAU for the behavior science unit at the FBI for many years. And, Mike and I sit on a foundation. It's the Cold Case Foundation. And Mike's one of the executive board members. And, we're just honored to help. And what we do is we help many families actually around the world. I just worked on a case from Siberia. And these families don't have the resources to investigate their families' deaths. And this is a nonprofit 501c3. They assemble investigators from all over that have skill sets on certain things. And we basically debrief them and we give them ideas to the investigators that are looking into the cases. So it's a real privilege to do that. And Mike's been instrumental.
Thursday night, right?
Yep, Thursday night.
Thursday night at 7. Let's give another book away, Chris.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, let's see who we got here. Oh, by the way, this is all being done by a little company that we had set up. They are doing the drawings, so we don't even know where you live. So anyway,
We don't even know where he is.
Kristen Warman, thank you. Congratulations. We're looking forward, and all of you that have won, if you want those signed for whatever reason, I'll be happy to write something in there, and thank you for it. It's really been fun to kind of do this little thing. And let's put up the map if we can, and just remind you that there's a place where you can log in. We had like 1,600 on there, so we picked up a few folks. Let's see if we can bump that up over 17 or even 1,750 or 1,800 tonight. If you haven't filled out the little questionnaire to show where you call in from, it would be really fun to see where you're calling from throughout the world. And we're not asking for your address. You don't have to leave your email. It's just a way for us to get a sense of where everyone's coming from. And I've been really amazed by how many people in the UK, Chris. The UK, and I know there's a lot of folks that are up. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning in some places, and people are up watching this. So it's really fun to have you do that.
That's awesome.
So we also want to let you know that we're not going to tell you what we have for choir practice next week. But in not this coming Thursday, which is the Cold Case Foundation, but the following Thursday, I don't think you're going to want to miss that one either. We're going to have two of New York City's finest who were at Ground Zero the day the planes hit on September 11th. We're doing it a little early because we wanted to have plenty of time to play up until September 11th to remind everybody. This is 19 years since 2011, and the terrorist events in New York City, in Washington D.C., and in the fields in Pennsylvania. So yeah, you're going to want to hit that one and hear those two talk about digging through the rubble and collecting their comrades. And I don't know if I'll ever forget just the sense of tenderness and awe when bodies were recovered, Chris. It's going to be, I think, one you'll want to see.
It's crazy. It very, very humbling, very humbling. And we had one comment there about I want to see a mask that something about no evil. Speak no evil. Tell them about the mask, Mike, and the merchandise. So we just opened the merchandise store, and down below you can hit those links, and make sure you please also subscribe to us and share and hit the buttons, and hit the reminder button. If you don't hit the reminder button when we put something up, you won't get notified. So you got to, and press that button, turn it blue. I still didn't know what that meant, but I guess when you keep hammering on it, it turns it blue. That's a good color right now, in the world. So keep doing it. Pass it along to everybody. Let's see here. Yay, merch. Yeah. And Mike had some great ideas. I want to talk about this real fast. So we got a pair of sunglasses, and it's going to say "See No Evil" on it at some point, right, Mike?
With the Profiling Evil logo on the side.
Profiling, yeah, the Profiling the Evil logo. And then we've got the mask for all of our, folks out there. And if you're out and about, and especially, I'd love to see them pop up in the hospitals and the ER rooms. This one's going to say, "Speak no evil." I can only imagine what that's going to look like.
Can we zoom in on that Speak No Evil mask?
I don't know. Can you? And it comes, and by the way, all this stuff comes in multiple colors. It's just not these colors. You can get it in pink. You can get it in blue. There's all kinds of color choices on the other side. Do you find that person's personality?
We're sounding like QVC. So
I don't want to go there.
But you got to get the mug, because it's going to be a limited edition mug in January. It's going to change, but it says on the back of it, the rookie year. So this is our rookie year, and you'll want to take advantage of that just so you have bragging rights. Exactly. I'm sorry, Chris, did you have one there that somebody popped up?
No, we're good. Where could you wear those? Pink, purple. Okay, rookie year. There it is, 2020. So
Profile Eagle logo on the front and rookie year on the back, and that's the limited edition. So you don't want to miss that one. And hopefully by next year you won't need the See No Evil or Speak No Evil mask, but it's got to be like something everybody wants, isn't it? Hey, thanks, Andy. Grants. You're so nice.
Grateful for you. My husband works in the UK. He's told all his friends, I can't wait to see you come to COVID. I like my husband working from home. That's great. Yeah. Good for you guys. Good for you guys.
Yeah. We're going to figure out how to do that, go on the road kind of thing. And we're looking forward to COVID coming to an end, because we do have lots of law enforcement conferences that we no longer can attend or speak at while we wait for COVID to be done. But
so, a couple ideas, Miss Sophie. Can we have some mugs with your pictures on it, please? Oh man, we might do the brave young lady. I guess Holy cow!
We don't want you to have stuff to take to the shooting range.
Man. Yeah, we'll make a dartboard. How about that, Miss Sophie? You can throw darts at We're great. What a thought. What a consideration. So, Michael, we've got some big stuff happening after this live tonight. Hey, we're going to put up another video from the family, and we're here to tell you folks, you are not going to want to miss watching this, because there is some new information coming. Definitely some new information coming. And so, Mike, were you giving the last book away? Do we got another book?
Yeah, we're going to give away the final book. And I do want to say that for all of you who joined us for the Operation Underground Railroad, thank you. Those donations will be made, excuse me, in your name, or in the name of all of you, as one big lump. But if you didn't see it, you got to go back and see it when we throw the cops under the bus, one of which was an opera singer before he became a police officer. And he sang Danny Boy at the end. And it was just so fun. We had so much fun the other night.
It was awesome.
I don't want you asking Cooper to sing, Chris, because that will cause us to lose numbers in a rapid fashion. So we got to keep away from that. But make sure you're signing up on that map. We want to see those numbers pop up. I want to take one more look at the map if we can, and see what our numbers are looking like there. And again, folks, if we could bump that up, that would be great. Thank you so much for sharing the channel with your friends. We're growing at a crazy rate. We're really looking. We're almost to 17. We'll leave that clicker on and see if 2 more people will get us over the top of 1,700. And let's announce the winner of the 4 books. I'm going to hold them up again. So they're 4 titles. This one, Predators, Who They Are and How to Stop Them. And this we wrote, in fact, with Greg Cooper, the fellow who will be on Thursday night. He and I wrote this book, and it is a compilation of different kinds of predators and things that we can do as individuals to reduce our risk of being victimized by that person. This is kind of an interesting book, Profilers. And I was one of 2 profilers in the world who was invited to do a contributory chapter Two of us were not FBI profilers. One was from Scotland Yard and then me, and the rest were FBI profilers. So that's kind of a fun book and kind of a personal favorite of mine just because of that experience.
1,700 Miss Molly. Yay. It's up 1,700.
We did it. Awesome.
So,
Thank you.
They did it. Yay.
Keep them coming.
Did it.
And then the other two books that we've talked about. So let's see who the winner is. And again, folks, thank you so much for.
What are they winning? What are they winning, Mike? What are they winning here?
They win all four. It's one. It's
all
one.
Four.
All four.
Okay.
And I'll personalize those if you'd like. If you'd prefer not, tell me, and I'll make sure I don't, because some people prefer not to have them.
Okay. Grand prize. Donna Solian. Solian. Is it Sullivan or Solian? Sullivan. Well, either way, she won. Donna won. If
your address is right and your spelling on your name's wrong, we're going to still send it to you that way. But thank you so much, folks. Really appreciate it. And thanks for all that you do. For those of you who are helping us out on the member side, it's really appreciated, but not necessary. Thankfully, we're two old guys that have a pension. But we do like to put out quality content, and that does cost a little to get our production company taken care of to push that out. So it's really appreciated.
Donna, it's a typo. There it is. Donna
Sullivan. There we go.
Thank you. I'm Irish. Irish forensics. Come on. You're my brother. Where are you on that one? And I've got an Irish Scot, combo with some English root too. So from England. So I got it all. I'm a mutt, a 51, Heinz 51.
And I want to say thanks to Tim and his team for running that little production to get those books out and managing that and whatever magic they do behind the scenes to do the drawing. I have some, in fact, when we first started, he said that they had a little computer glitch and they were rebooting or something, and they had to get it up so they could do the drawing. And there were a lot of folks that signed up. So that was we're really grateful for that. Right after the show tonight, folks, within a couple of minutes of us going off the air, we're going to post that video of Chris and Andy talking a little further about Andy's experience when he came out to look for Suzanne, and he arrived the day after she went missing, as did a number of friends from Indiana, where they all hail, and it's quite an interesting discussion. And again, how grateful we are that they have placed the trust in us that they have. It really has been interesting. I want to call out the evidence room one more time. For those of you who have given us suggestions in the evidence room, thank you so much. We are looking at those. We're trying to compile those and put together information. We're forwarding them on if it looks like something that we want to have forwarded on. And I want to thank Chris, those around us that we've been working with, Plunder and It's a Crime, and Tyson Draper's team, the Web Sluice folks. We're really pleased to be able to work with you. And again, we just are not concerned about any of this from a competition standpoint. We think that they're all bringing some real valuable content to the table, and we hope that we're doing the same.
Yeah.
So Chris,
look at Sweetie Pilo even has a channel. I watched her stuff today on some analysis that she did. So there are just so many good people doing the right thing, and this is one of the things that Mike and I are convinced, and I'll keep saying that investigators don't solve crimes. Citizens solve crimes. And if we can harness the power of really smart people coming up with great ideas, okay, that is what we're trying to do here in terms of where the evidence room comes into value. Push your information into there. You guys have been doing so much out there for so long. And we acknowledge that, and this platform is giving us a better opportunity to acknowledge it for you, and so we'll push that data forward. But first, obviously, just to remind everybody again, if you think you're onto something and you have first knowledge, call 911, call the tip line, call whoever that information needs to go to, that agency, and forward it to them first. Do not send it to us. Okay. If you can't get to that situation or you don't feel comfortable, then you can push it through and we'll push it up. But our goal here is to have real investigators come on here and talk about real cases. And then you, our family and community, can start breaking them and pushing wide open some additional leads. So, Mike, I think tonight's been just an absolutely fantastic evening. Our second choir practice, I saw in one of the notes, without any alcohol. Yeah, go. Back then, you know,
my Dr. Pepper with ice, and apparently somebody
and
was telling me I can't have ice in my drink because it clangs too much or something.
Because we have to drive home. That was always the thing. Maui girl, you know, Shaka. We're grateful that everybody is here. I'm just going to turn it back to Mike here in a second, but you know, keep hitting that subscribe button, please. Keep sending it to your friends, but more importantly, keep being good people to yourselves. You know, take care of each other. You know, this is a channel that is a little bit different than the other ones, and hopefully we can keep it above that line. So, and hopefully we don't let you down. If we let you down, keep us in check. We're grateful for you, Mike. What do you got to say?
Thanks, Chris. Always grateful for your influence and your background and wisdom. Folks, 2 hashtags, make sure you're sharing them. Please tweet them out and do all that really cool stuff. Invite your friends to come. And like Chris said, subscribe to the channel so that we can continue to grow. But we've added one. Not only is it hashtag profiling evil, but now we have hashtag profiling evil choir practice. And hasn't it been fun to watch people's minds spinning when you say, I'm going to choir practice? We'll see you next week at choir practice. And thank you so much for the support you give us and for the fact that you're keeping your ears to the rails, listening for things that might be tips or leads that will solve cases. If any of you ever feel threatened, please get to a place of safety and reach out to your mental health provider or law enforcement and get the help you need. It just won't get better on its own. Get some help and know how much we appreciate you. Thanks and have a good night. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. Good night, everybody.